Get up before the rooster, put on my camo. Load up my bow and my rifle and stock the ammo. I'm a bullet with the bullet, but I'm lethal with the arrow. Always down for the hunt, dove turkey and big bucks. Hit the woods and get fitted up. Mossy oak all across my fit, don't be surprised, we do this too.
I be up before the sun with my 30 at 6. Hard body on, I ain't worried about the kick. Yeah, we do this too. 100 bars, we live 100.
What's up, guys? Welcome to another edition of the We Do This Too Outdoors podcast. I'm your host, Courtney Williamson. I've got a super special guest on today. You can find her on TikTok shooting her bow. She goes under the name Majestic Huntress on TikTok. Her legal name looks like to be Amber. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Blessed, black, and highly favored, as they say.
Right.
Yeah, but like we talked about off camera, I am super glad that I found you on TikTok because I've been trying to find a hunter of color that is a female to tell a different side of the hunting world. And every time I see you shooting your bow, getting ready for 3D, getting ready for, the hunting woods, it was awesome. So I'm glad I found you. So introduce yourself, tell us where you're from, and just go down that rabbit hole.
Alrighty. Well, I'm originally from South Carolina. I live in Oklahoma. I have a hair salon and I've been doing hair for about 14 years now. So that's pretty much been the consistency of my life, outside of work, taking care of kids and home life, and of course, shoot my bow and going hunting. And that's pretty much all I got time for.
I understand that. You say you had a total of 7 kids, right?
Yes, like in between my husband and I, yes.
Okay, got you. Yeah, that would be hard. I've got one. He's 7, and I don't know what I would do if I had another one. Me and my wife talk about that all the time. Like, we have any more kids? I was like, I'd rather not, but
Yeah, no, they're expensive, and I mean they're fun. I know, like my boys, they're, in football, or I guess they were in football since that season ended. I think they ended up going to like playoffs, but
yeah,
didn't last too long. And then my daughter, she's in gymnastics, and then stepdaughter, she's in volleyball. So now soccer. So it's just it's a whole lot to keep up with.
I understand. My son just got done with football. He just started baseball, and as soon as baseball ended, he'll go. Well, he's in basketball now, and as soon as basketball ends, he'll go into baseball. And then he come to me the other day. He'd been watching a lot of Muhammad Ali videos on YouTube. So he's like, "Daddy, I want a box." And I was like,
Yeah.
"You sure?" He's like, "Yeah." And my brother, he used to box a little bit when he was younger, so I had to get him on the phone and talk to him about it and the discipline behind it. I said, "Look, we can't just be going to school knocking kids out because you know how
Right.
to box." I said, "There's a discipline behind it."
Mm-hmm.
He's like, "Okay, Daddy, I get it." So, but
Self-control.
self-control. But so, how'd you get introduced to hunting? Did it your dad, your mother? Did somebody just an interest you always had? How'd you get into it?
No, neither parent. My mom, she is a homebody, and I respect that about her because I love being at home. But my dad, he wasn't into it either. I used to watch the Olympics on TV, and I always thought it was pretty cool to see like the archers on there. And so I don't know, they didn't have any sights or anything on their bows, and I'm trying to figure out how they're doing all these angles. So I always thought it was cool. But my husband, like now, that was one of our first conversations. Like whenever we started the whole dating process, I had asked him about his bow because I seen on his social media that he shot a bow. I was like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. And so I was asking him questions about it, and his response was, are you trying to make conversation, or are you actually interested about it? And I was like, no, I'm actually interested about, shooting a bow and the whole details behind it, hunting and everything. And I have this motto, like, I'll try anything once. I only got one life to live. Almost anything once. Let me rephrase that. And so like our first Valentine's Day, I actually ended up getting a bow for a Valentine's Day gift, and I couldn't pull that thing back to save my life. And I've always been into like the gym and trying to work on like, staying fit and everything. Cause my dad, he passed away when he was 50. So I think that's pretty young, like of heart issues and all that. So I always took like my health and my fitness pretty serious. But um yeah, so it took me like 3, 4 months to be able to pull the bow back at 35 pounds. And then from there, it was like I had one bow and then I switched over to another one and two more bows later, pulling back 60 pounds.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry to hear about your dad. I lost my dad in 14,
Yeah.
colon cancer. So, and
Hmm.
that was my hero. And so after that, I kind of started taking my fitness journey a little bit more serious. I'd always been into powerlifting and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
the guy that actually taught me to shoot a bow, he's a huge power lifter. And first bow I ever pulled back was set at 85 pounds. And
Oh
I
my gosh.
tear my shoulder smooth off.
Hmm.
The
You
more
don't normally use those muscles. Like there
oh,
was nothing I did in the gym that could have helped me like get ready for even
nothing.
just the 35 pounds until I had to like tweak it. And sometimes when you're in the gym and you're trying to work out like certain, like, I guess, angles and
Mhm.
muscles in there, it's like some people are kind of looking at you weird, like, what are you training for? And
Right,
it's like you just got to stay in your own bubble and be like, okay, there's a light at the end of the tunnel for this.
right. Yeah, it was the more I started shooting with him and the more that I'd go to his house and I fell in love with it to the point where I still love my guns. Everybody knows that, and I'm a big rifle guy. But
Hmm.
it's something about that stick and string. I tell
Yeah.
everybody it's poetry in motion. That's the only way I
Hmm.
can explain it. And until you do it,
Yep.
you're not gonna understand what I'm talking about. But
Nope.
it's awesome. So I'm glad you stuck with it and still sticking to it. So I know you mentioned to me on TikTok through the messages that you had your own company.
Yes, shot the
Okay.
3D experience. So I'm I'm kind of like in the back scenes of it. It's my husband that has like the co-owner title. I'm pretty much like the event coordinator. So you mentioned 3D, how you don't do 3D anymore. So we ended up going to TAC. I think it was like 2 years ago. Um, might have been, yeah, 2, 3 years ago.
Okay.
That was the first year that TAC came to Broken Bow in Oklahoma, and so we ended
Yeah.
up checking it out. That was around the time of me not being able to pull my bow back. So whenever we were there, I was just pretty much the arrow caddy and walking around. And I seen few women out there. It wasn't too many. The ones that were there, there was a couple that shot, and then there was others that more so walked around, pretty much like what I did. And so we went the second year and I was able to shoot and I had so much fun. We ended up doing like a Sitka course. I think it was on day 3 that we
Yeah.
was there. And so we ended up getting back home. We was like, we didn't want to wait another year for tech to come back around because it's not like we was going to go out of state and travel to catch all the other events that they have. So we was like, well, we could just start buying some targets and like setting them out in the backyard. And so we ended up, getting like a whole cluster of targets to put together. And then we would invite a lot of people out, do social media posts, like flyers and reels and all that. And it engaged a lot of people. And so we was doing that pretty much every other weekend. During that time frame, we got to meet so many people and like their journeys and how they got started, whether they grew up doing archery or whether they just got into it. It was really neat to be able to explore everybody's different story and their background, and that they're still nice. They're not being arrogant or
Hmm.
anything. It was just a really good like community to be a part of. And so we took that from it, that those events that we had every other weekend. It was called Odd Bane Out. And then with that TAC event that we went to that last year, we bumped into a guy named Tim, and he's part of the Rogue Archer. And so he has
Hmm.
like these fitness challenges. And so it's like where you put a rucksack on your back, like maybe 30 pounds, walk it down like 20 yards, walk it back, and then you got to shoot your bow 3 arrows, I guess, within 60 seconds. And then you got to get a 10 or better on the 3D target.
Hmm.
And so that kind of piqued our attention. So we was like, oh, that would be kind of cool if we could just incorporate that into like, what we're doing as far as building 3D archery. So it's him, Brian, and Jeremy. Jeremy's the guy that I'm with. And so they just came together and we had our first event about a year and a half ago now, in Hugo, Oklahoma. And then this year we had 5 events. 4 of them was in Oklahoma, 1 of them was in Arkansas. And so next year we'll be in 4 different states: Louisiana, Kansas, Arkansas, and Oklahoma.
Okay.
And it pretty much what it is just like 5 courses. They're kind of strategically placed as far as like the 3D targets. Some are closer in range, others are further apart, and then the distance is kind of spread out between like a half a mile to like 3 miles long even. And then we have like, novelty shots where you can win prizes. This year we ended up giving away like a side by side. I think it was like 16 bows. We had like a kids area where if they just did like a kid shot, like if they hit the target or not, just to get the engagement for kids, they got entered into a drawing to win a bow. And so it was just pretty cool to be able to see like each event growing. And like a lot of the guys that came out, like if they came out for the first event or on the first day of an event, like they would come by themselves, and then the second day they'll bring like their kid or their wife or girlfriend. And so it was nice to be able to see the community grow within itself just in that time frame. So
That's awesome.
yeah,
So you have an event kind of like a total archery challenge.
pretty much. Yeah, we're just kind of, for right now, we're like on the smaller version since we're still growing. We have a good bit of interaction between the states that we're going to, and this year we're incorporating ASA. So then that way, a lot of the ASA shooters that wouldn't necessarily do like a 3D, target shoot because of like some of the differences, because ASA is more wide open
Right.
shots. And then, what we do is more like hunting styles. Like, okay, would you be able to shoot between trees or, brush and all that? So it kind of opens up that pathway for ASA shooters to be like, oh, I can maybe try this since I'm here. Same thing with the target shooters. It's like, I would have never tried ASA, but since it's here, we might as well. So I'm pretty excited for the next year. It's supposed to start this season that's coming up is supposed to be starting May 1st. And then we got our website up and going. We just launched it about maybe a week and a half ago for that too.
That's awesome. Yeah, I used to shoot ASA. Me and my best
Mhm.
friend. Um, my a pretty funny tax story. So the first one I ever did was in 2022 in
Mhm.
Belvedere, Tennessee, and I didn't know what to expect. I wasn't prepared. I didn't prepare myself at all. And we
Mhm.
did the Sitka course, the first one, and literally I was talking to Jesus the entire day, trying to get me
Yes.
up this mountain. And my best friend, him and his wife, shout out to Teresa. Holden is in really good shape. He's in the military. And we're going up this mountain, and I'm telling you, me and the Lord are talking the entire day. I said, Lord, just get me
Mhm.
off this mountain and I'll be fine. Well, I get to like target like 19. I'm going down. I end up twisting my knee, and my knee's like swollen. I'm trying to get through this
Oh.
course. So we finally get to the top of the mountain. 25 is a big elk target. I'll draw back, shoot it as fast as I could. I hit it. Everybody else is up there taking multiple shots. I was like, I'm done. I hit it.
Mhm.
Let me get back to this hotel room. So the next day we were going to shoot I think it was a Hoyt course. And
Yeah.
my knee was so swollen I couldn't do anything. So I just started messing around on the practice course. And before I knew it, I had like a crowd of people around it, me. And I'm like, what? Am I about to get jumped? And so I'm like, I had my pistol, and I just kind of grabbed it, and a bunch of people was like, hey, it's cool, man. Like, and it was this dude from Clanton, Alabama. I think his name was Tyler. And he comes up to me. He's like, man, I don't mean to be whatever, racist, whatever. I don't mean to sound like this. He said, but I didn't know black people did this kind of thing. I was like, yeah, we
Mm.
do this too. And that's kind of where the name was kind of branded there.
Yeah.
And last year, well, it was this year actually, they had one in Indiana, and I ended up getting COVID and I couldn't go shoot it with my best friends and all them. But that's kind of how the name was branded down there in Belvedere, Tennessee, at a total archery challenge. So
Mhm.
I know all about that Sitka course, and I probably will never do a Sitka course until it was bad. It was bad.
Yeah. So when we ended up doing the Sitka course, I can't remember what kind of weather was going on, but like where Broken Bow is it was the lake was over flooded, so they couldn't use all of the island area. And so I was kind of thankful for that because I know with even the first year that we went, and I didn't shoot my bow. And then of course the year that I actually did, where you're actually carrying stuff around, like getting uphill and downhill, and some of those like hills is super steep. And then you could, when we went, there was like a lot of leaves and stuff on the ground, so you can't see if there's like a hole, or you stepping on something that's really unlevel for you. You find out whenever you bust your behind. Or it was one day we ended up doing a course. It started raining during that course, and so the ground was already kind of slick from the night before, because we ended up doing like an early morning course. And oh my gosh, I was so mad because so right before we even went to tack, we went ahead and got our like arrows set up, and so I had like 2 dozen arrows in there and got my bow sighted in and everything. It's a lot of hard work and trying to get all that set. And then of course, whenever I stepped on this log, and I remember saying before we even started the course, I was like, I do not want to fall. Like that's the day is over if I fall. And I stepped on this log so that way I wouldn't like go around in like this random hole. And of course I step on it and it was so slick. I went straight down and I fell on my bow, and I was so mad. I was like,
Oh no.
I could have fell on anything else, but I'm like, that is like hours and hours in that bow.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. It didn't mess up anything other than my stand. It kind of bent the stand a little bit. But I mean, we finished out the rest of the day. We dried off, and then we ended up doing another course later on that day. I think we walked over like 10 miles that day. It was a
Yeah.
lot, but
Trust me. I know. It,
yes.
I'm telling you, like I told, because my best friend, he records everything, and he used to get on my nerves until I started doing my own content. I'm like, why do you have this camera? I don't want to
Mhm.
be on film dying. Like I can't breathe. We're going up and down this mountain, and I was fine until we got to like target 7, and
Mm.
everything was uphill. So we're shooting everything up. I said, I'm not
Yep.
going up there and getting them arrows. You can go get 'em.
You have to bring mine back.
Yeah, so he comes down like the first time, like, and I'm sitting on somebody else's stool. Like, I don't know whose stool this is, but I'm sitting on it, trying to catch my breath, talking. I'm like, why am I here? But once I got my brains a little bit, and I was fine, and it was fun. But
Mhm.
like I said, I got hurt and didn't get to shoot the next day. But
Yeah.
I tell everybody, if you're going to do a total archery challenge, or we got the R100s here too. They do those
Mm.
in Kentucky. I don't know if you've ever heard of those, but you need to
I
look at.
have, but I've never done one.
I've never done one, but I think there's 50 targets from like an African target, and then there's like targets over there, and then you've got like a North American one. There's like 100 targets. Like supposedly it's pretty wicked.
Mm.
But I tell everybody that wants to do a total archery challenge, make sure that you're in shape, because it will test every fiber of your being,
Oh yeah.
especially if you're like on a mountain. Like I don't understand how people go to these like Montanas and Colorados and Big Sky and all these places with that
Mhm.
air out there, because I don't think I'd make it back to Kentucky. Like
Well, it's insane. And like I don't think there's anything that you can do in the gym to really train for it, because we had went on a hunt trip in Nebraska last week, and I was like walking on the treadmill incline like between 10 and 12, as far as like the elevation of it. And I even had the speed up high, went on the like stair steppers. I'm like, I'm good. I got this, because I hate cardio. So I had to like talk myself into doing it. And even then I was out there and I was like, why am I here? Like
yeah,
I was like, at this point, I don't think a lot of people know how much goes into hunting, or, doing like, 3D target shoots like that, because it is very like physical. And if you're high up in elevation and you're not used to that, like elevation sickness is real. Like I
yeah,
didn't think anything of it until I felt it myself. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I really I don't think I'm gonna make it out out from where I'm at.
yeah. When I first started shooting ASA, when I first started like getting really big into it, I had a TRX 8, which is an older Matthews bow, and it's
Hmm.
a 40 axle to axle. And to get my pin dialed in where I needed to be, I had a lot of weight on the front and a lot of weight on the back.
Mm.
And it's fine when I'm outside in my yard shooting it, because I can
Yeah.
go inside. But I'm going up and down these inclines and whatever.
Hmm.
And the next target that I get to, I'm sitting here just like
Yeah,
shaking.
shaken.
My
Yep.
heart's racing. I'm like, see, that's the part that they don't tell you about,
No, no.
but
And with tack, there was quite a few shots. You take a shot, let's say, and you're aiming downhill. So you go downhill to go get your arrow, and then you got to go right back up, to
yeah,
go to the next shot. And so it's like, who wants to go first? And it's like, I don't want to go first. I'm trying to
you're right.
catch my breath so
Yeah,
I can
catch my
make
breath.
a good shot on this one and not damage another arrow.
Yeah. So yeah. So anybody looking to get into the 3D world, make sure y'all do y'all's due diligence and get online and
Mhm.
look at some of these shots and just do your best to be in shape, because that's
Yes.
that.
And hydration is
And
key.
yes, hydration is key. Like they've got stations set up like halfway through the course.
Hmm.
But if you're anything like I was, I didn't think I was gonna make it halfway through that course. So yeah, switching gears a little bit, talk about females in the outdoors, because I had a conversation with a guy at work the other day, and we were talking about like how females are playing a big role into the outdoors and into archery and stuff. And he kind of made a point that he didn't really take some of the female archers and the female hunters serious, simply because a lot of the female archers that he'd seen, the only reason they're doing it is because their husbands are really big into the archery world. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes, I can. So I've experienced some of that, like going to like certain shoots and stuff in our area. They have a women's category, and unless I'm shooting for jackpot, I can understand that. But if it's like a fun shoot, I don't want to shoot where they put women, because it's mostly like a known 40, and I'm like, I shoot past that,
Uh-huh.
so I don't want to, like, it's no longer fun for me, because I'm like, it's I get the boundaries because of it, but whenever you walk up and you fill out your card and everything, and it's like, oh, I'm gonna have you at the red stake, and I'm like, why? I want to be at the white stake, and they're like,
Right.
well, you're a woman, and I'm like, I know what I am. That's I'm glad you realized that too, but that's not. I want to shoot where the men are. And I don't think a lot of the guys, of course, because there's not a lot of women in archery, I don't think they even think about that and be like, oh, okay, well, maybe we should have that option for women if they do shoot past 40 yards. So then that way they can also feel like they're doing something too. So we ended up doing that shoot twice that day, actually. And so that first time we ended up going through, I shot where the women's was, and I was not feeling it. I was like, if I got a good shot on it, I'm like, I feel like that was a gimme shot because I'm used to shooting further back. And
Right.
then so I didn't get good scorings on that. And mentally I was not checked in. But then whenever we went through the second time and I was actually able to shoot where I wanted to shoot, which was from like the white state was further back, like I felt like I was more in my element. So I get the whole stereotype of, women may be wanting to do it for like either likes or just to kind of tag along with their husbands. But for me personally, I can say this is something that I can truly say that I fell in love with. It's kind of like another aspect of the gym for me. Like the gym is where I'm only Amber. I'm not a mom. I'm not a hairstylist. I'm not required to do anything. I'm there for what Amber needs. And so whenever I'm like shooting my bow, I can actually put that time outdoors or even indoor, whenever we're doing indoor archery, into that element of like, okay, this is my time. This is where I can like focus and have that time for me to, because all day I'm thinking about everybody else. And so this is my passion of, okay, if I want to just shoot my bow, I want to shoot my bow. Not for the likes or somebody else's opinion, not because my husband does it. It's just that's just something that I like. I do not like bugs though. Outside, that will never change. But I can overcome some of the bugs, like flying around and all that, just to be like, okay, you know what, like either I shot good that day, shoot my bow, because I have my good days and my bad days where I'm
Yeah.
like shooting around and all that. But I'm like, okay, I feel accomplished because I did something for me that day, not where it's like, okay, I woke up and I did something for everybody else and forgot about myself.
I understand. Yeah, that's
Hmm.
yeah, that's good, because I feel like nowadays with social media, everybody wants to see the end result.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
don't want to see everything leading up to it. And that's the part of hunting I love. It's not the
Mhm.
end result's a bonus, but I
Yeah.
like everything leading up towards that. The preparation time you have into it, the practice,
Mhm.
the outside, tweaking your bow and
Yep.
doing different things to make you feel more comfortable when you do have that, 180-inch buck in front of you, and
Mhm.
that you're going to harvest him because you feel comfortable and you feel confident.
Yeah.
But I feel like caveat to that, everybody wants likes.
Yeah.
So everybody is, especially it seems like more in the females. Basically, when you online and you see half these women are half naked on a boat fishing or half naked doing something, they're wanting all those likes. They're wanting
Yeah.
that attention. And I think the men are starting to get towards that too. So they're trying to do as much as they can to get those likes. And
Mhm.
people are not really seeing all the preparation that goes into a lot of these TV shows make it look easy.
Yeah, and it is far from
Yeah,
that.
they're far
Like,
from that.
I used to watch like some YouTubers on YouTube. We were about to go on a hunt and I didn't know what to expect. This was my first one. Where I guess I can't say my first one. It was my first one out of state, let me put it that way. And I was just trying to see what really goes all into it outside of someone just telling me. Because I'm like a more of a visual person. I need to see.
Yeah, me too.
And I'm like, whenever you post, like, let's say a minute or, even 5 minutes on social media, like Instagram, TikTok, whatever, you don't see like, okay, you got to wake up at 4 o'clock or 4:30 in the
Yeah,
morning. And the night before, you need to make sure you got everything packed and set up. So then that way, whenever you do get up, you're more prepared. And we do a lot of saddle hunts and stuff. So it's, your pack is like 40, 50, 60 pounds. And then you got to make sure you got your snacks and everything else. And all the hours that
mhm,
you're sitting, you may not see anything at all. And then it's like, oh shoot, like it's prime time, or just a random buck will come out, and nobody talks about that. Just like what you were saying, it's just like, oh no, hunting or shooting a bow is super easy. And I can't tell you how many times I've shot my bow and I'm like, why do I even own this thing? Like,
mhm. Yeah,
what am I doing? Because I feel like I can't shoot, and then mentally it's super challenging. But I think that's why I like it also, because it kind of goes back to the fitness side for me. It's not easy getting up to go to the gym. It doesn't feel good while you're there. You just feel good after it's done.
right. Yeah. Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I've been on a 3D course and there'd be like a river or like a lake behind me.
Mhm.
And if it wasn't for my best friend, my bow would be in that river or that lake.
Yes.
And I'm like, why am I here?
Mhm. Yep, you
Uh,
start
we
questioning all your life's decisions. Yes.
we went to Metropolis, Illinois. I think it was last year for a 3D shoot, and that's the home of Superman. For most people, a lot of people don't know that, but
Mhm.
it was in about 87 to 90 degrees in Kentucky when I left, and as soon as I stepped foot out in Illinois, it was like 114 with heat index.
Oh,
They
yep.
had to carry me out on a I don't know if I can't remember if it was a side by side or a golf cart because I
Yep.
was in spots. I didn't remember anything.
Mhm.
And I remember the third target was that damn javelina,
Mm.
and I could barely see the 12 ring. I could see the 10 ring pretty good, but I could see that lower 12. And I'm like, I'm about to bust this thing. I missed the entire target with everybody and their mama watching me, of course. They're behind
Oh,
me,
wow.
like,
Yep.
and me and my best friend, and it might have been two more. There wasn't a lot of people of color there. So anytime I get out of the truck, I was like, I'm about to show out today. They about to
Mhm.
see Will, and I just heard people just talking like, why is he here? Why is he even here? Does he even shoot archery? It made me so damn mad. I was about to throw my bow in that lake behind me, and my best friend was right behind me in another group. He's like, dude, just
Yeah.
calm down, take your
Mhm.
time. He's like, just be cool.
Yeah.
So, can you talk a little bit about so as an African American woman in the outdoors, the flack that you got? I could go story for story with most people about the flack that I've got just being an African American in the woods growing up. Have
Mhm.
you gotten any flack from social media or any of the events you've been to?
Um, I can't say that I've gotten too much. There's sometimes you get random looks like, is she really shooting? Or it's like, uh, I don't know. I can't say that anybody's ever said anything to me,
Yeah.
but you can tell from like vibes where it's like, okay, let me see if she's actually if she can actually do this. And so that's why I think for me, self-consciously, like if I'm gonna do something, I want to make sure I do it good. So then that way, if you have anything to say about me, it's not because of what I look like. And so there's been quite a few shoots that we've gone on, and like if you're the next shooter up, it's like, okay, all eyes on you type thing. And so of course I get settled in, I do my shot and everything, and they're like, "Oh, that was actually pretty good." And I'm like, "Actually pretty good."
Yeah.
So I think once you get out there, and then I have a bubbly personality, so I try to always take the edge off of certain things because I've dealt with certain looks, I guess, even doing hair. Because it's like, okay, do you know what you're doing? It's like, do you trust me? Why, if you don't trust me, then why are you even in my
Yeah.
chair type
Yeah.
deal?
Why are you here? Yeah.
Yeah, and so once they see like, okay, maybe I was wrong for like prejudging, then they're more like open and accepting of that matter. But I can't say that I've had anybody say anything. It's just sometimes like looks, but it's not often. It's just certain towns that I can say that I've gone to, and it's like, okay, what's going on? Like, why is she here type deal.
Right. Yeah. Well, I grew up in a small town. I still live in a small town. Most people here know me, but if I
Mhm.
go somewhere else, like mostly everybody in the 3D world has been like super, super cool with me and
Yeah.
very, helping. But it's mostly in the hunting world is where I get most of my flack from. And like, why are
Mm.
you here?
Yeah.
Like, you know what you're doing. A lot
Mhm.
of gun shops I go in. It's kind of those looks, like you said, like, why is he here?
Yeah.
And I've actually had a gun on or a gun shop owner. I like walked in and I was looking for a new Glock. I'm a big Glock guy. And
Mhm.
the first thing out of his mouth was, "What are you looking for, Draco?" And I'm like, "Because I'm black, I want a Draco." Nah, bro. I'm looking for a Glock. You got any? He's like,
Mhm.
yeah, we got plenty. He's like, "Are you a legal gun owner?" I was like, "Bro, I wouldn't be in here.
Yeah.
I couldn't own guns." I was like, "I take it serious." I was like, "That's one main reason I try to stay out of trouble, because if I
Yeah.
can't go shoot and if I can't go in the woods because I got a felony on my record,
Right.
you might as well just put me in the ground."
Yeah. Yep.
So
I agree. And I think a lot of times, like whenever we're going out, like um Jeremy, he kind of watches areas and all that stuff. And so he's always told me like if there is anybody or a situation where I feel uncomfortable, he's like, just let me know. And he was like, I'll say something to him. I'm
yeah,
like, just chill,
yeah,
and for the most part, I think it's just you have a lot of people that are it's like a generational thing, and certain things are passed down, and
yeah,
um unfortunately that kind of comes with it. And so it's going to end up taking a lot of, I guess, a lot more people of color to be out in the area to be like, oh, okay, this is how things are supposed to be,
yeah,
not where it's just all one-sided.
yeah. I get that. We here in Kentucky, we still have a lot of sundown towns,
Mhm.
and we try to stay out of those places. Even it's 2024, but you just
Mhm.
want to keep your kids safe, keep your husband, wife, whatever. You just want to be safe, so you just try to stay out of those places. And a lot of
Yeah.
those, I feel like a lot of that is, I wouldn't say it's dying, but I think it's getting a little better. But like
Mhm.
you said, a lot of that is being passed on from those older generations, and most of those older generations died out. So if
Yeah.
that did get taught to this newer generation, I think we'll be okay. But
Yeah. Because I
uh,
mean, honestly, that type of behavior, that is not something that you're born with. That is something that
right,
is taught and passed down to you. So it just takes those individuals being like, hey, you know what, my family members may be like that, but I don't have to be, and it's a choice. Um, but I mean, it that's all up to that individual.
right, right, right. So you came from South Carolina. So
Mhm.
what part of South Carolina did you live in?
Columbia.
Columbia. So yeah,
Mhm.
you're down there in the Geechee territory.
Oh, yeah.
Do you speak it?
No, but oh my goodness, my grandma, like I love that lady. She passed away a few years ago, but when we were kids, I remember she had this frog on the floor and I don't know what she was asking me to do, okay? And my dad, he was very big on like, you respect your elders, yes ma'am, no ma'am, like
Yeah.
yes sir, no sir type thing. And so she had asked me to do something, and I was like, ma'am. And so she was like, she said it again. And I said, ma'am. And so my dad got on to me and he was like, did you not hear what your grandma said? And I'm like, I heard her, but I didn't understand what she said.
Yeah.
And so he ended up saying what she was asking me. She was asking me to pick up it was like this little frog thing, but it ribbit and it was in the middle of the floor. And so she wanted me to pick it up and move it. And I'm like, oh, and I'm thinking to myself, why didn't you just say that? But like
Yeah.
I didn't understand because the dialect was
Yeah.
different. But
I get it. Yeah. My grandmother, on my dad's side, she grew up in Memphis.
mm-hmm,
And like a lot of her family members, I guess, were really big into like that pig Latin or whatever.
mm-hmm.
And she would say stuff to me all the time, and I'm like, "Ma'am,"
Yeah.
and
Like
I'm
what?
like, just keep saying. Dad's like, "You don't know." I said, "Dad, I'm clueless,"
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and that Memphis slang, is a lot different than growing up here, the sticks of Kentucky. So I was like, it
Mm-hmm.
took me years to start like understanding what they were saying. Like it cracks my wife up now when we go down there and like my aunties and my uncles, and she'll be like, "What they just say?" I was like,
Mm-hmm.
"Don't worry about it." Like,
Yep.
yeah,
It's funny whenever me and Jeremy we started dating, there were certain things that I said since I am not from Oklahoma, and he's just like, "What?" And
yeah,
I'm like, I have to explain it, and then he's like, "Why didn't you just say that?" And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I did just say that. It was just a
yeah,
little different."
yeah. It's that Southern dialect, man. Especially
Mhm.
from like Kentucky down, especially
Mhm.
Louisiana,
Oh
South
yeah.
Carolina. It's a whole different culture down there. The
Yeah, it is.
Creole, the Cajun,
Mhm.
the Geechee in South Carolina. I mean, it's a different world. So.
Oh yeah.
So I see that you got look, was it two Hoyts back there? Or Matthews?
Yeah, so those are the hubbies. So he has the Hoy RX-7, RX-8, and then the Matthews. Mine are, well, I just got one, and this the RX-8. So I am obsessed with my bow. It's I'm gonna see if I can turn it so that way you can see it. It's that one right there.
right there, yeah.
So we got it customized. It's weird. So I'll tell you this story real quick. And so the first Valentine's Day gift, we went to Bass Pro. When he picked me up, I was like super excited, but I didn't know where we was going. So when we pull up to Bass Pro, I'm like, what? Where you gonna get me out of here?
Right.
And so we go up, in there and we're looking at the bows and he was like, I'm gonna get you a bow. And I'm like, oh, that's awesome, and
Yeah.
so afterwards I was like super excited because I'm like, okay, this is something that I was talking to him about, and so now, like as of last year, I get home and he was like, I got a surprise for you, and I'm like, what? And he was like, what do you want for Christmas? I'm like, I don't know. And he was like, you want a bow? And I'm like, heck yeah, I want a bow. And so he was like, do you want to customize it? I'm like, yes. And I was like, pink strings, because that is a signature of mine. I gotta have pink strings. That's my
Gotta have
favorite
pink.
color. And so the limbs are like the Kuyu bias print, and then it's that tombstone gray that I
Mhm.
think came out last year. So I was like super obsessed. So we ended up taking like my setup for Target, like the Target setup and the arrows and everything, and then we ended up switching it over to the hunting setup. But I don't know. I know Hoyt came out with a new one.
Yep. RX-9.
Um,
I think they came out with a new alpha.
yeah. So I don't know. I'm set on like, I guess, one thing and adapting to that. And so I don't know. I think my one bow is okay for right now,
Yeah.
unless I end up coming across that RX-9 and put it in my hands. And I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a big barterer. I started off with Bowtech back in the day, and Bowtech back then is not like Bowtech now. I was
Right.
snapping limbs, I was doing
Mhm.
everything. Then I went to Matthews, and I started having some trouble out of the Matthews with cam problems and everything like that
Mhm.
everybody's having right now with their lifts and their
Yeah.
titles. And so I'd like to try Hoyt. My buddy Eric has been trying to move me to Hoyt forever. I currently shoot a Prime right now,
Okay.
and I love it for so far. I've had it for close to a year. Well, not even a year, probably, yeah, 6-8 months, but I love it.
Yeah.
But I'm going to eventually try Hoyt, but I just cannot bring myself to spend, was it $2,000, $2,300
Mhm.
for a Hoyt bow? And I
Yeah.
think Matthews is right there with him now. And my best friend, he's
Mhm.
a big Bowtech guy, so he's been trying to move me to Bowtech, back to Bowtech, and I'm just like, I'm good with my Prime. I used to do
Mhm.
a lot of bartering, man, but like the price of these bows now, a lot of people don't want to trade with you anymore.
No. And even if you do, like I know there's like a few groups on Facebook where they'll, post a used bow. But I mean it's like what they're trying to sell it for. They're trying to get all their money back
Yeah,
out,
exactly.
to pass it to the next one. But
Yeah,
I mean I've shot Elite, and I think that was my second bow. My first bow was the one that was from Bass Bow. I think Bass Pro, I think it was just like Cabela's brand.
yeah,
And I don't know, like the second one was the Elite, the third was a Hoyt Venom. It was a bit heavy, like
yeah,
whenever you're trying to like get settled in of your shot and everything, and you're holding that, and you got like your stabilizers and your sight and
yeah.
front and back weights on there. It's a lot. It adds up. But this one, since it's a carbon bow, it's it's super light. It's dead in the hands, and I don't know. I know it's a lot of money, but it's to me, I'm like, I don't know if I can shoot anything else. But
Right.
I've never shot a Matthews, so I can't even speak on that or Bowtech. And then what is it? There's another brand. Oh gosh. I was just thinking of the name of it. It starts with a D.
Darton.
Darton, yes.
Yeah, they just came out
Um,
with, I think they just came out with 3 new bows.
Uh-huh. So I mean, I know like I've heard about their patents and stuff like that with other bow companies and all that, but I've never shot one. I mean, I wouldn't mind, but my draw length is only 24 and a half inches.
Yeah.
So that kind of limits me with a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I'm a 30 and a half.
Mm-hmm.
And I can shoot pretty much anything, but I like the longer axle to axle bows because they feel better in my hands. Those
Yep.
shorter axle to axles, I have trouble keeping it on target.
Whenever we was looking at that one, I was like, I want the bigger one. Go big or go home. And
Right.
of course, Jeremy was like, no, that bow is probably over half your like height.
Yeah.
I was like, dang it, because I'm only 4'11, so
Yeah.
there's
But
that too.
Darton, I just found this out a couple years ago. If your bow has a cam on it, most of the companies have to pay Darton like a royalty
Mm-hmm.
for like those cams or whatever. So Darton's making some good money.
Heck yeah,
Plus,
they are.
like, I've shot a Darton bow. My buddy, like, I think he's sponsored by my buddy Dylan. Shout out to him,
Mm-hmm.
Dylan Gilbert. But he's been shooting Darton for a couple of years, and I said, man, what's up with these Darton bows? He said, come to my shop and shoot one. And they're super smooth, and they're very affordable for what they are.
Yeah.
They're kind of a mid range. I mean, they've got some ones that are up there with the Hoyts and the Matthews, but if you're just
Mm-hmm.
wanting to get into it first time, I mean, you can spend $700-800 for a bow, and by the time you get it set up, you might have $1,200-1,300 in it.
Okay.
It's still expensive for
Yeah, but it's still, for Matthews or Hoyt, you're already paying that off the rip just for the bare bow
yeah,
itself.
for a bare bow itself. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
what all accessories you got on yours? You got
So accessories. Let me take a look over here real quick. Unplug that. That way you can check it out with me. So
I see you got your tax sticker still on there, or your little rich man at the bottom.
Yeah, so that one was from it was called Heartland. It was an archery shoot that we ended up doing in Kansas.
Oh, okay.
And that was their first one. They were really helpful with us. I don't know if you've heard of Unbound Strings.
I haven't.
Okay. Well, he's based out of Kansas, and so they ended up putting on like archery shoot. So we drove over there and was supporting them because they were super supportive with us. But so my site, it's a Dow site, and trying to see what the brand CBE on there,
CBE, yeah, that's what I thought it was.
and then it's still got the original strings on it. I have some backup from Unbound. They ended up putting like our shot company on this part here. So
That's cool.
I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Um,
What arrows are you shooting?
Victory arrows, TKOs.
Okay.
And Jeremy, he ended up custom building mine, putting like the shot wraps on there. Of course, I gotta have pink
I see the
knots
pink,
and
yeah.
and then shooting severs 2.0s.
Okay, yeah,
So hopefully I can like put that into some good use tomorrow. But
yeah. Well,
but
good
yeah,
luck.
he normally does pretty much my whole entire setup. As far as like doing like the draw weight instead of us having to go to like a bow shop.
Yeah.
I'm sure you can see from behind me. He has like the um
Yeah, I see it. He's got a bow press back there. So
yep, he got the bow press back here where he can fix cams, restring, and all of that. And then pretty much all of this over here is like all the accessories with like fill points, broadheads.
yeah,
He has like the fletchings up here too. So since we live kind of further out, like um, instead of having to always go to a bow shop, we still go to some in the area. But that way we're not having to be like, oh, shoot, like something happened with our bow, we can't do anything with it. And he's the type of guy like if there's something that he can figure out, he's gonna figure it out and
yeah,
try to do it himself. So,
yeah. I
but yeah.
understand that. My bow guy, he's about 45 minutes away from here because I
Hmm.
can't do none of that stuff. I've tried, and I just don't trust myself.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I got home and he was looking on YouTube because he was trying to figure out something with like the cam. It was so we have we'll paper tune sometimes like
Yeah,
if and figure out like okay what's going on with this, and so he'll try to YouTube and see what's going on, and then he'll call like some of his archery buddies and be like, hey, what's going on, this is the problem that I'm having. That way he can try to troubleshoot it and then fix it before we have to drive all the way back out and figure
right.
all that out.
Yeah,
It's about
that's
like maybe an hour drive for us too.
yeah. It's me. I live out in the country, so luckily my bow guy, he's pretty. He knows when I'm coming. He knows I'm going to be late. Even if I say I'm gonna be there at like 5, he's not showing up till 5:30. It's just
Oh
me.
gosh.
I'm late everywhere, but
Yeah,
he's
hey, it'd be like that sometimes.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, but I've
Oh.
got I'll shoot the my field tips or my broadheads. I shoot G5s.
Mhm.
I love them, love the way they shoot. I haven't actually harvested anything with them just yet, but I'm about to be on doe patrol here pretty soon. I'm gonna try to get my son a deer tomorrow, hopefully, and then I'll be bringing that bow back out. And then
How's the weather there?
right now it's kind of cold. I think it's about 40 something degrees outside right now, and I think in the morning it's going to be in the mid 30s, but then in
Oh,
the high is going to be like 60. So
okay. That sounds about right for us too.
yeah, so I'm hoping he'll have some success because he's been like, well, you know how kids are. They'll get in there and he'll get my binoculars and he'll sit there and,
Mhm.
Daddy, I think I seen some movement over here. I'm like, Bub, that's a tree. Like, and he's just like,
Right.
Dad,
Super
where are the
excited.
deer? When's the deer coming? It's like, Bub, you just got to be patient. This is a
Mhm.
patience thing. It's not like you see it on TV, but he wants it to happen so fast,
Yep.
and it's hard to keep him still. So I got to have a lot of snacks and a lot of Capri Suns and some Gatorade and stuff in there just to keep him there. But he's
Mhm.
really good at like sitting still for the most part. But usually
That's
once
good.
prime time hits, like right before dark, that's when he's ready to go.
Okay. Hey,
Because
that's pretty good for a 7-year-old too.
yeah, it is. But I'm like him. I'm scared to death of the dark. So I like to get in as late as I can, and I like to leave. You know, if I'm hunting with somebody, I'm fine. But if I'm back here by myself, I don't know
Mhm.
if you heard my Halloween edition or not.
I
Uh,
did
you,
not.
you need to look it up when you get off there.
Okay.
I swear on everything I love, I seen Bigfoot in my woods,
Oh my goodness.
and people laugh about like you're doing now, you know.
Yeah.
But I know what I seen. It was about 10 foot tall, and it barked at me, and
It barked at
it
you?
barked at me.
Oh.
We were coon hunting, and me and my buddy, and I won't mention his name because I told him that he said, "Dude, when you're telling this story, do not mention my name." I said, "Okay." I said, "I won't mention his name," but we were coon hunting, and the dog that we were using took off, running past us, and he's not scared of nothing.
Mhm.
And we're going across this creek, and I can see it to this day. I have my headlamp on, and I look up, and I'm 6'3", and so I'm pretty tall. And I'm looking, and I'm still like looking up. And this thing's like 10 foot tall, and he's like standing like he's about to take off running. And he barked at me, and I look, and my buddy, I see him take off. I see him; he's gone.
He was
So
gone.
he dropped his rifle. He had 222 rifles, and those rifles to this day are still back in those woods somewhere.
What?
And we get back to my mom's house. It was like a 200-yard sprint, and I get back to my mom's house. He's standing beside my grandfather's garage. He's got asthma real bad. He's,
Mm.
what the hell was that? I said, I don't
Yeah.
know, but I don't know. People don't believe me when I say it, but I got a witness. But so me in the dark, we don't jive. So usually when I go
Yeah.
hunting, I try to take somebody with me so it kind of calms my nerves a little bit.
Mhm.
But if I'm by myself, like I was opening weekend, like I could not wait for that sun to come up.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I mean, there's a lot of stuff, of course, a lot more movement with bugs and other creatures at nighttime. So
Yeah,
I can't blame you on that one. And there's so much that a headlamp can't pick up on.
exactly.
Like I know one of the things that I absolutely hate walking in the morning or even like walking back at dark is like when you have your headlight on and then all these bugs start swarming around your face. I'm like,
Yep.
"Ah." I hate
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But I mean, for what you're going out there for, it's and just watching God's nature. Like even if the only thing you're seeing is the birds, which the
Yeah.
past few hunts that I've gone on, like that's pretty much all I've seen. That squirrels and some bugs. Um, I don't know. It's like worth it to me.
Yeah. That's what I tell people. I said, me and God have had a lot of long conversations out there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I find my peace.
Yeah.
I have my best conversations with the Lord out there.
Mm-hmm.
And I always pray when I get out there, just
Yeah.
thanking him for allowing me to be out here because there's somebody out there that wants to
Mm-hmm.
be out here that can't,
Yep.
whether they're dealing with a sickness or, something's going on with them where they're not allowed or can't be out there. So I
Mm-hmm.
always try to give thanks when I'm out there and just enjoy it.
Oh yeah. And it's crazy because I know whenever we were or I was getting introduced into hunting, Jeremy, he always said it was his favorite time of year because that was like his time
Yeah.
to just kind of like recenter himself. And I never really understood that. And then we end up going out and hunting and I don't know, you're just looking around and it's just so peaceful. And it's like, all the things that you worry about whenever you're doing your day-to-day busy life. And it's like, okay, you do one thing and then you find a problem and you worry about it and you don't have a solution for it. And then when you're out there, it just stops. And it's
Hmm.
like, if God can feed like the birds and they don't have to worry about where their next meal is coming from, it's like, okay, I have no control over my life. Like this is God's world and I'm just
Hmm.
here and it's my job to give him those problems that I'm having, talk to him, have a relationship with him. So it's been nice, like, getting up in the mornings and you get to like your glass and spot or where you were going to end up hunting, and you just sit there and it's like, God, this
Mhm.
is our time.
Yep.
And if you have a really busy lifestyle, it's kind of hard to have that, because it's like up, as soon as the alarm goes off, you're up trying to do all these other things, so you don't have that time to reconnect with your creator. And it's, I don't know, I don't want to say you don't have the time, it's just like not on the priority list as it should
Yeah.
be.
I get that.
Yeah.
And if you really look at it, and I say this all the time, you like really look at you being out there in the woods and you being on Earth, you're like this small
Yeah.
compared to everything. If a bird's flying over and they're looking at you,
Yeah.
that bird is seeing you, and you're this big. You
Mm-hmm.
know, and if God could take the time out to make that bird and make him happy and make him sing and make him do all that, like imagine what he can do in your life.
Yeah.
So
Amen.
that's the
Yep.
way I try to live my life the best I can. I try to treat people the way they want to be treated, and
Mm-hmm.
I just try to enjoy my time out there, and that's what I'm trying to teach my son. Like it's not all about going out there and harvesting animal. It's about
Yeah.
enjoying the time in the woods, everything that leads up to it, because
Oh yeah.
hunting's not easy. And if somebody tells you that, they're probably paying somebody in a high fence farm to kill stuff. Like it's not free range like we're out here trying to do.
Mm-hmm. Especially whenever you're trying to do it like with a bow, because it's
Oh, that,
already difficult, with a gun, like a rifle and all that. But it's
yeah.
like you got to get so close to that animal. And it was one, I think it was last year, we was in Nebraska hunting, and I was sitting like pretty much in this tree, like tucked away, and like I would, there was no like elevation for me. Like I wasn't in a tree stand or a saddle or anything. I was just sitting there, and like this doe came over the hill, and I was like, oh shoot. And I had already pre-ranged everything. So I knew like if I had a shot, I could, range it pretty good. And promise you, it was like maybe 7 yards away, and it was just still looking. And meanwhile, I'm like, oh shoot, like, can they see my eyes moving? Because
Yeah.
I'm like looking at that doe, but I'm also seeing like, okay, it's like a buck behind chasing her type deal. And it's just crazy how, nature moves itself and how close you are to that animal. But I don't know, like you get a lot of people where it's like, oh, have you gotten something yet? And it's like, no, not yet. Because you never know how close you may be to a shot, but you can't draw back,
Right.
or you're not in position where you even have your bow ready because it happens so fast. So it's
Happens too
like,
fast. Yeah.
dang it, I didn't get that shot. But it's not, just like you said, it's not always about harvesting. It's about the whole thing. And whenever you do harvest that moment, it's like, okay, either I'm like shocked because I'm like, oh my gosh, overwhelmed with what just happened, or you're kind of shaky.
Yeah.
I've had both instances where it was like, um, like my doe that I had got, I can't say that I felt anything. I couldn't feel my legs. I know that. um, but I know when I got done with the shot and like we had heard her fall, Jeremy was like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he was like, "How you feel? Are you about to cry?" I'm like, "No." And he was like, "So what's going through your mind?" And I'm like, "Well, there's another doe. I want to knock another arrow, but I can't move."
Yeah.
And he was like, "What?"
Yeah.
Meanwhile, there was another shot on like a buck that I was trying to get, but I was so shaky. I couldn't get
Yeah.
my bow back. And I'm like, what is happening? So I don't that's another thing that's not talked about. Is like there's so many emotions that go
Oh yeah.
through your body,
Hmm.
and you don't know how you're going to react, because it's like you can be fine in the moment whenever you see the animal come out, and it's like, all right, I got this. And then as soon as it's time for you to like either get your rifle ready, I've never gone rifle hunting, but just getting set up to like position like your sights on it or get your bow drawn back, it's like, I can't do this. So it's a lot emotionally.
I get buck fever really bad. Like it's bad. Like so. my best friend's wife now, they were dating, and my best friend called me that morning and said he just harvested his first buck ever. So I'm excited. I drive down there and we pull it out of the woods, take pictures, take it, process it, take it to the taxidermist and everything. And he said, "Hey man, where can I, put these deer guts at?" I said, "Well, you can take them out to the farm." I said, "I'll use them for coyote bait because we do a lot of coyote hunting around here."
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Well, we got about 45 minutes of dark. Let's go sit in my stand and see what we can see." And I don't hunt in the air. I hunt on the ground because I don't trust myself. I'm scared to death of heights, just like I am the dark. So
Yeah.
I like being on the blind. So Teresa, she's sitting in between me and Holden. He's on the right side of me. I'm on the left side looking out, and she drops her phone, and it makes like the loudest noise ever. I'm like, "We're not up to see anything." And she's like, "I'm sorry." And then all of a sudden, Holden turns and he's like, "Bro, big buck." And I thought he's just joking with me. I was like, "Yeah, whatever." So my gun is like way over there. So I like reach for it and like I see the buck and I was like, "Open the window." He's like, "Dude, if I open the window, he's gonna run." I said, "If you don't open this window, I'm about to shoot through this window." So he opens the window and I'm calm as can be, putting a shot on him. As soon as I shoot, there I am.
Yep.
And Teresa had never experienced it before. It's like, "What's wrong with him? Are you having a seizure?" I'm like, "No." Like, it's like he gets buck fever real bad. Just calm down. We can't find this deer anywhere. And I'm like, "Did I miss this deer? I'm upset. I." Find it, you know. So he's like, "Hold on, I got an idea." And he's a big drone guy. So let me go back to my truck, get my drone, see what we can find. So if you get on my Instagram page, I think it's 2 years ago, you'll see like me walking up to this buck, and you'll see the drone footage. It's like something you see like on TV. It was pretty cool. But
Yeah.
like Teresa, we get back to the truck and we drag the truck on the, drag the deer on the truck and everything. She's like, "I've never seen so much killing before in one day." And
Oh.
I don't think she's been back out since, but she was a trooper for being out there because anytime, he harvested his state tag about a week and a half ago, maybe a little longer. So she was out there taking pictures with him. But we've got a spot called Fort Knox. It's a military base, and he's in the military, so he can get 2 more tags that don't go against his state tag. So he's out there, hunting. And Teresa's like, "I don't want to go take any more pictures." And I was like, "You're going. He's going to make you go." I think she enjoys it, but at the same time, it's like she's doing what she's doing. And then she gets a phone call saying, "Hey, come take my pictures." But she's a trooper, so I'll give her for that. But
I get a lot of questions of like, how can you like go hunt, or how can you kill something, or how do you feel knowing that you took an animal's life? And I was like, well, that's a loaded question.
very loaded.
Yeah, I was like, I don't necessarily look at it that way. It's like hunting is an art and it's a blessing to be able to do. I'm like, it's not like it's just started. It's been around for generations, prior. And I was like, it's kind of like a sacrifice. And there was this one person that had asked me that, and I was like, okay, so do you eat chicken or do you eat like beef or anything?
Right.
Because
Yep.
there's a lot of times, like, if somebody feels strongly about that, they don't eat meat.
Yeah, they're
And so
vegan
this
or yeah.
Yeah, and so this particular person, they're like, "Oh yeah, I eat it." And I'm like, "Well, then how do you think you got it on the plate or even at the grocery store?"
Yeah,
So
somebody's
it's
got
like
to
the
kill it.
same concept. Is I was like, it's just more meaningful to me because I'm the one that did it, and
Right.
it's you have like an appreciation for the animal. I was like, you're not going out there trying to wound animals and you know, you know, kill as many as you can. That's not the whole concept of why a lot of hunters do it. It's a sacrifice. And um I don't know, it's like it's a feeling that you cannot explain. And it's like, okay, this is on the table and it's something that you're proud of. But I'm sure it's a heck of a lot better than going to some of these places where even how they do fish, like,
Yep.
they'll have like the pool of the fish and they're actually like harming them in the process. So it's very different. And I
Yeah,
don't know if there's enough information on that instead of it being like, oh my gosh, you just, killed this, or
yeah,
you get so much joy out of it. It's like, no, it's a lot deeper than that.
yeah. And I think that's where hunters get a bad rap too, because like you
Hmm.
said, like social media, all they're seeing is the kill. They're seeing all that blood. They're seeing, the tongue hanging out of the deer's mouth.
Hmm.
How can you kill something that's so harmful and whatever? I'm like,
Hmm.
do y'all eat meat? It's like, yeah, we eat meat. It's like, well, how do you think it gets in the grocery store?
Yeah.
Somebody's got to harvest it. Somebody's got to kill it, skin it, whatever, and
Hmm.
they manufacture it and put it in a vacuum sealed thing, and you go buy it at Kroger or
Yeah.
somewhere Walmart for to put on the table. It's the
Yeah.
same thing, but I always say it tastes better when you kill it yourself.
It
I don't know
does,
what it
because
is.
there's no, I don't know, like of course, all the chemicals and stuff that they put in foods and stuff now.
Oh
You don't know what you get, and you don't know if it's chicken or if it's made in a lab or what.
yeah, bat
And
wing or something.
yeah, and like if you go out there and you get a deer, it's like, okay, like I know that this is just deer. It's not mixed
Mhm.
with all these other things, unless you take it to a process and you ask for it to have more fat or whatever. But
Yeah,
you know what's in it. So I feel like the preparation of you making dinner is it's more important to you.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's I get that question all the time, but I try to explain it the best I can without being rude. But
Hmm.
it's just it's one of them things. I don't think they'll ever understand it until they actually do it for themselves.
Yep, exactly. Yep.
So yeah, but switching gears a little bit. So I ask this question just about every guest that I have on. So it's a hypothetical question. You can think on it as long as you need to. Um, so basically, hypothetically, you've got inner city youth kid, let's say female. They're getting in a lot of trouble. Um, they've always been interested in deer hunting, archery, just the outdoors in general, but they don't know where to get started. They don't know how to get started, and they're kind of nervous about getting started because of the flack that they might get since they're inner city and didn't grow up in the country like we did. What advice would you give them?
Um, I think my best advice that I would give is there's social media out there, so you can always look up somebody that's doing something that you would want to do, or similar to it, and there's ways you can reach out to that person, whether they're on like you know a high level, or if they're just kind of starting out, and just kind of put yourself in those like groups, like Facebook groups or social, like Instagram, whatever. You can follow certain people and see what their journey is. Go on YouTube, TikTok, and find certain people and just make conversation. And I'm a firm believer of, like, if you tell your story and like your troubles and stuff, more people will be authentic with you and being more helpful, especially in like I feel like the archery community, and just hunting in general, like whether you hunt with the rifle or not, like people are more inclined to help those who are more authentic. It's not like you're just like, I'm doing this because like I'm trying to get my next, come up type deal. It's
Right.
um if the more authentic you are, I feel like the more approachable like you'll be, and someone else will be willing to help you and kind of take you in. Because I know there's plenty of people that's reached out to us and they're like, oh, this is something that I want to like start doing, but I don't even know where to start. And so the fact that they reached out to somebody, they
Mhm.
started. So nobody will know if you don't say anything, and that's where it starts. But just doing that, like going around to different places, like those groups and stuff, like you could see like if somebody's even willing to give you a deal on a bow, if they know a little bit more about you, and it's not just a random, like, because you got so much spam out there too, to where a lot of people,
Sure.
they'll see a message and it's like, all right, whatever, I'm not gonna deal with that. But you just got to put yourself out there, get the information, be dedicated to it, that way you're not wasting somebody else's time with it. um because of course, the last thing I'm sure somebody would want to do is like take time out and be like, hey, I'm actually mentor this person because they're super passionate about it. But then later on down the line, it's like, okay, I can't want this more than you want it for yourself.
Right.
But yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So my main goal, well, this is a long-term goal for we do this too, is to take some of these inner city kids and bust them in to Kentucky and
Mhm.
teach them hunter safety, boating safety, how to skin a deer, how to harvest their own meat, process it and everything. Like just teach them a new
Yeah.
skill.
Yeah.
That's always been a dream of mine, especially with the youth, because I grew up, I had both my parents, they were both in my lives, and I had a very good childhood growing up. But some of these kids out there, they don't have the luxury
Yeah.
of that, and they're in bad situations where they're getting in a lot of trouble. And I
Hmm.
just feel like just give them something else that they can do to keep them out of trouble. I think that would benefit them a
Yeah.
lot.
I agree. Because I mean, archery and hunting in itself, fishing too, anything really outdoors, I feel like you learn so much more about yourself
Yeah.
in the midst of the progression of you growing in that actual sport. And it also brings in, like, let's say if you have that mentor for someone, once they reach out and try to figure out, who could help them, that could be a person that they can rely on, because you never know. There's a lot of youth and people in general throughout life, they feel like they are alone. And
Right.
to be able to have that partner to help them outside of archery, they're like, oh shoot, there's people that do care about me. And even if it started in just their interest in doing something in the outdoors, it's like, okay, it kind of opens up the horizon of like there's more out there. um so I think that would be all around a good thing for youth and just adults in general, just trying to figure out life.
Right. Right. Yeah. So what
Yeah.
what uh what would you say is the best lesson that you've learned in the outdoors?
Hmm. I can't say it's the best lesson because I've had so many.
Yeah.
um, Honestly, like the patience.
Yeah.
I feel like we live in a world where everybody wants everything quick. And it's in the outdoors, it's not quick when it
Mm.
comes down to hunting. You put in so much into it, and the patience that you got to have with yourself, the patience that you have with others, um, and just realizing like sometimes the thing, or I can't even say sometimes, all the things in life is that are more important to you is they don't come easy, it don't come quick.
Right.
So I think that's pretty high up on the list as far as like lessons learned, and just being consistent, like picking something and staying with it. Like
Hmm.
you're not going to be perfect at something all the time. You're not going to get bullet holes. You're not going to always go out and harvest the biggest deer, of the season. Like taking the competition out of it and being like, hey, you know what? Like I'm going to do this whether I feel like it or not. Um, and I'm gonna be consistent with it because I've made that step to be dedicated.
Right. Yeah. I like that. Yeah. I tell
Yeah.
people all the time, we live in a world it's so fast.
Hmm.
You go to McDonald's, you get your little number two with your drink. That food's probably gonna be gone by the time you get home. Like you don't
Oh yeah.
take the time out to just, look up and be like, thank you for this.
Hmm.
It's just so everything's so quick. And I find myself doing it a lot, because we're busy. We stay busy with the little one, and
Hmm.
by the time we get home, it's late. And we're trying to scramble to find food. What we're going to eat for the night and whatever. And we just live in a society where we're just everything's just so fast, and people just
Yeah.
forget that. You just got to tell yourself you got to breathe. You got to enjoy. You got to enjoy this because one day, you know, life down here is not forever. You're gonna look up and see like, man, I should have took the time out to do this, or I should have took the
Yeah.
time out to do that. So,
Yep.
so
And
yeah, hey,
hindsight is 2020.
yeah, that's huge. So,
Hmm.
Well, thank you so much for coming on this podcast. I've had a ball, and I'm just thankful that I was able to find you to give another perspective on the female side of archery and the outdoors, especially as an African American woman. So,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate the invite.
No problem. So, how can people get a hold of you if they want to like follow you or ask you some questions or anything?
Well, my Instagram is under Amber underscore Latasha. And then my TikTok is under Majestic Huntress. Facebook is Amber Jones.
Got you. Okay. Yeah,
Mhm.
I think you made a video about it, but there's two Majestic. There's
Oh
two
my gosh.
styles
Yeah, I'm
that I
so
found.
irritated with that. I reported them and on TikTok, and of course they're like, "Oh, there's no violation." I'm like, "Yes, there's total violation. Like that's fraud. Like you
Yeah,
can't take somebody else's picture and their name and all that." So there's three. There's one with the Majestic period Huntress, and then there's another one where it's Majestic Huntress with a zero at the end, and then another one with a one at the end. And they're asking people to contact them on Telegram. And I'm like, I don't even know what that is. So I'm like, don't do that. That is not me. I'm not going to ask you for for any of that. Like, yeah,
yeah, I got you.
I don't know why people do that. I'm like, just
I don't know either. Luckily, I haven't had that happen to me yet, but I'm sure it's coming. So,
hopefully it doesn't, because I'm like, there was a couple people that reached out and said like, oh yeah, there's like another account of yours, and I'm like, what? And so I didn't think anything of it, and then the more and more people was sending messages, I'm like, what is going on? So I checked it, and nothing popped up on my end, and so I was like, well, let me see if I can put it in this way, and then I did, and I'm like, oh my goodness, there's
yeah,
three of them. Like, I just knew about the potential one.
yeah. So make sure that y'all follow
Yeah,
the
there's
right
no
account.
numbers, no punctuation or anything on the Majestic Huntress, my original and only account on
Yeah,
TikTok.
for sure. Well,
Mhm.
thank you once again. If I can do anything for you to help you out, I'm always here. Message. I think you got my phone number as well.
Mhm.
Um, I'm always down to come help Oklahoma. I definitely want to come to one of your shoots. I think the closest one for me will be in Arkansas. So
Heck
uh,
yeah.
I had to come check you out. So
Yeah. I
good
was gonna
luck
say
with.
the information on that, it's shot the 3D experience on Facebook and Instagram, and then the website is www.shot3dx.com, and it has all the events on there.
Gotcha. Do you got any like gear on there too as well, like
Oh
t-shirts?
yeah.
Yeah, I'm
The
at.
hats, the shirts, there's some hoodies on there, I think some
Yeah,
tanks too.
yeah. I
Yep.
gotta get a hoodie. I'm a big hoodie guy, so I gotta get a hoodie.
Same.
Yeah, I love hoodies. So, but yeah, I appreciate you. And like I said, anything I can do to help. And good luck with all your endeavors out there. And hopefully somebody will see that and take it and run with it.
Heck
Uh,
yeah.
but yeah, like I said, if I can do anything to help you, just holler. But this will be aired in probably about 2 weeks. So I've got a couple more ahead of you, but it will
Mhm.
be posted pretty soon on anywhere you
Okay.
get your podcast. I'll tag you in all of them and everything, so you can post it too. So
Awesome.
if y'all got any questions for me or her, make sure you follow the right account, like she said.
Yeah.
And I'm on all social medias under We Do This Too Outdoors and everything like that. So if y'all got any questions about that or about this episode or anything, so y'all just holler at me. But big game, small game, all game. We do this too.
Heck yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.